title of this video is That's When I Knew I Was in Trouble. Growing up, I kind of always lived a double life, right? Like, I knew what was right, but I would always try to find a way to kind of get away with what was wrong. And when you start to get in this habit of that at a young age, and it progresses into your, teenage years and your young adult years, eventually that double-sidedness is going to merge. And you're going to be faced with reality. And although that was the thing I was trying to run away from for the longest time, when I met it head on, I finally got a piece of what I really was. I knew I was in trouble when I didn't know why I was doing the things I was doing. I knew I was in trouble when I was around people that I had no real common interest, no real productive belonging. I knew I was in trouble when I was just around people because we were all kind of doing the same thing. That was wrong. And when you're a young person, you get tempted and you get faced with decisions a lot differently than when you're older. When you're young, you don't really comprehend the consequences. When you're young, you don't really understand that these are the years that you're building your habits. These are the years that your mindset is developing. And now you add in, the opportunities of the world in a negative way with substances, partying, all the rebellious ways of living. There comes a consequence with that. And I'm not to dive down in a negative atmosphere, but I think it's important to share that I wouldn't be right here, right now, where I am if it wasn't for God. If I didn't find a way, if I didn't get myself to surrender to my way of life, if I didn't have those tough moments where I knew I was in trouble, where I knew that I got myself in a spot, and I knew I didn't want to go there again, I knew I didn't want to keep living that way, if I didn't do that part, I'd still be out there doing crazy whatever I was. It all progressed. And I did get very, very familiar with that world. And I was very, very close to going to those levels. But something grabbed me. Something said, you got to stop. And even as bad as it was for myself, I knew that had to be a turning point. And eventually I had to make the decisions. I had to subtract everything that I was adding to my life. Every bad behavior that I added, every negative way of thinking, every way of coping, all these things that I added over the years, I now had to go through a removal process of taking them out of my life. Dude, that was tough. It was tough because I knew I was never supposed to be like that. I thought I could never be like that. I grew up and I seen people living their life a certain way, doing things, having fun, looked like fun. And I ended up just adopting all the things that I was familiar with seeing. And then I came familiar with doing them myself. And then this is where I got lost. I got lost at the point that I tried to become familiar with how to get rid of these things in my life. And that's a very lonely spot when you have become normalized and desensitized to these negative, surroundings and atmospheres. And listen, by the way, Those people that I was around, I have nothing but love for. I had some great bonding moments, and there was always a camaraderie and loyalty part of me that always kept me in it. But eventually I understood that that was not the correct form of love. I understand that destructive, enabling, being around these things, being a part of these things was no good. If I were able to talk to somebody that is now going through high school or that is about to enter to the world, I would tell them to take some serious time to think about their habits, the way that they have prepared themselves. Because whether you're going to college, you're going into the workforce, you're about to be on your own, life is going to test you. Things that were not available are now going to become available. Things that were hard to get are now going to be easy to get. Things that you never thought were going to be around are now going to be around. The only thing you'll be able to do is learn how to make the decisions with them. And I hope this message serves somebody so that you don't know what it's like to know that you're in trouble.